Started a new series that you can possibly see either on Facebook or on YouTube. Either one you should be able to, hopefully you'll be able to appreciate it, because just mentioning it, sometimes we have to, even if we don't think about it, maybe we should start understanding and noticing what other people are saying or going through. Not because we want to be overrun by them, but because we want to make sure that we are doing what God wants us to do. Because at the very tip of all this, what really, anything I ever say now, when it comes up here, is it approved by God? And we only know by looking at His Word. And we can try to twist it, and try to change it, but the Lord's Word will always stand firm. I just started a series a few days ago regarding racism. And there's a lot of people using that as a weapon, and some are denying it when they are involved in it. Sometimes we don't even know that we're practicing it. And do we hold them guiltless? No, we don't. But at the same time, we understand that some people have to be taught what it is, and that it could happen to anyone, whether you are a minority group or whether you're in a majority group. You can see different examples of it all over the world. And it's funny things because you can have racism against other people of your same color, because maybe you have a certain way that you do things that's different from another group of people, that you end up at the very most fighting and killing one another, which doesn't make any sense, but it's ingrained in people, maybe for generations, maybe for centuries. But let's start with the definition, what racism is. It is usually you're showing, whether consciously or not, some type of prejudice or stereotypical attitude that you push on somebody else. And it can come either in words, it can come in actions, thoughts. Again, sometimes you don't even realize what it is, but it's how it impacts somebody else. And that's the thing I think people tend to forget. It's not racism if I don't know what it is. It's not racism if I don't know that I'm harming somebody, but it is. The reason why is because we have to take the time to understand how our words or deeds affect others. Now, there are those who, they don't care. They know what they're doing can be construed as that, but they feel like they are entitled to feel that way and do those particular things. But right now I'm talking about those who may not understand. And we'll get into some forms of that, but the idea that because I don't realize it doesn't mean that maybe you're not intentionally racist. Let's put it that way. You're not intentionally racist, which is what we usually think about. We think about a racist person. You intentionally hold yourself up superior to other people, either one group or all groups, compared to your own group. And that usually is what racism is about. It's about your actions, your words, your deeds, what you do. But one thing I'm thinking about with God, or what Paul admonishes us to, And he admonishes us to hold each other up, to submit to one another. And I think there is the key. If you submit to one another, if you are humble to one another, then you're going to be sympathetic towards their needs, their hurts, their desires. What happens with them will respond with you because you care about them. You want them to be made whole. You want them to be happy. You're not worried about whether they're going to, let's say, take advantage of it. I am not going to do it because they don't take advantage of my kindness. Oh, that's true. They could. But that's when you love somebody. See, that's the key. If you say that you have the love of God in you, then the love of God is there, even if there's a chance that people will abuse it, will ignore it, will use it as a weapon against you. Think about what Christ had to go through. If you really think about that, think about what Jesus Christ had to go through. That even though he loved those who he was around, they didn't care about him. They hated him because of ideas that they thought of themselves. They didn't want to lose the standing they had among the people. So they made him an enemy. That's one reason, one way you can try to convince yourself that you're right. But we are to treat others. We have to love each other as ourselves. And this includes those who look differently from you. Whether you white, black, Asian, Latino, whatever group you are in. That can include Native American, Arabic, Persian, whatever it is. If they have the same faith as you, then you have to consider them your brother. They are, and do you shame your brother because your brother may look a little bit differently from you? Because many times what we think of other people, we think of them because of what circumstances have put upon them. So a person comes from a violent neighborhood, you think that person is violent. Person comes from a neighborhood of low education, you think that person has low education. You just assume it. That's where they came from. That's their environment. But Jesus always knew the hearts of men. He didn't see the outside as much as he saw the inside. He knew what people were thinking before they said anything to him. So everything that they said wasn't a surprise to him. But racism assumes too many things. It assumes that the person who you are subjecting the racism to, that they are somehow less able to do certain things. Take you one instance, whereas it's like a backhanded compliment. And to be honest, I hate to say, many groups of people consider them in this way. That's Jews. We have this, and it's strange because it hits white, black, definitely Arabic, would anyone that even hears of Jews always feel like they're about money? Because many do pursue that. They've been trained, or they've been grown, or they've been, but in whatever instance, they tend to sometimes go into businesses that deals with handling of money, whether it's for clients, whether it's for or organizations, banks, maybe they're agents, but they use what they tend to go into as a weapon against them. And there's even words that describe it that are really terrible things to use. And it's something that even we as saints of God sometimes fall into in a lighthearted manner, but it's nothing lighthearted about it. And I'm talking about Jews most right now because probably among people, they're probably the ones who have suffered the most out of racism over the centuries. Now, I will say this. There are some, not all Jews, but there are some who practice racism against others. And it's seen. In the Bible, they were racist against Samaritans, half-breeds that they called them. They wanted to be the chosen people, but they really weren't because they were not pure. Not understanding that an entire line of Israelites of the tribe of Judah, no less, that they were mixed. Otherwise, how did Judah have a baby? Because he pulled a Canaanite named Tamar, who tricked him because she was supposed to be his son's wife. And he held back, not because of her own problems, but because the Lord had killed his first two sons for things that they'd done against God. But that's Tamar. Now, dealing with the kingly line, David, some of you have heard the story of Ruth. She was a Moabite. Wasn't even supposed to be in the congregation of the people of God. But she was David's great-grandmother, a Moabite. I want you to think about that. And then, so how could you then cause other people to say that they are impure? And it's not just Jews that have done this. It's many groups of people. You're not purely white. You're not purely black. So we're going to treat you a little differently than others, which actually is a calling card of those who practice racism. But when you get into the Word of God and you understand that there are no races before God that he essentially is saying anything against, then we include all people, whether they are pure breed, or so to speak, or mixed. I think we're all mixed, to be honest. We just don't want to admit it. But we're mixed with something. There are very few pure people in this world. Too many things have happened. But racism still abides. Not with everybody, no. I'm not saying let's put it this way. Sometimes we tend to call people racist because that shuts people down. We use it as a battering ram. You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist. Well, that may not be their intention. And usually when you're talking about racism, yes, there are ways that you can unintentionally be racist or practice racism, but a racist is usually thought of as one who is intentionally putting his group above at least one other group, if not all groups. That is a racist. So there can be a difference between a racist, one who practices intentionally racism, to those who are involved in racism, which may or may not be intentional. That's where we have to then understand ourselves. We can't just not be racist, but we have to also combat racism wherever it lies. If a particular group of people is being harmed by a particular action, even though you may not admit it or mean for it to be that way, it is. And you have to acknowledge that. It's not about you being guilty or not about your feelings being hurt. It's about what's happened to someone else. Are you considering others before yourself? Which is what the New Testament tells us to do. Consider others before yourself. Are your words that you're using to describe someone, are they cutting? Do they denigrate? Do they hurt someone? If yes, then we have to pull back. We have to pull back. So let's think about this at first. Let's get that, and we're going to talk more about this. But are your actions or your words, even if you speak them in private, if you spoke them in public, could they hurt someone? Could they downgrade someone? Could they disparage someone? And if it's a habit that you usually do, then like any habits that are bad, you have to break it. So anyway, I want you to think about that. May God bless you. Take care of yourselves in Jesus' name.